Hello everybody, here we are back again. Let me get this set just right. That's about good. I got a haircut. See that there? I got a haircut. It's good to see you, and I welcome you to another evening with Ghost Stories with Spooky Ms. T.I. That's me, Spooky Ms. T.I. And I have poured a glass of wine. So if you'd like to lift your glass or your cup or whatever you have, and cheers to mid-October and spooky stories. So I did not do a live stream last week, and I've been thinking about this, and I think what I'm going to do is do twice monthly and do the first and the third Friday of the month. If anything changes, I will happily I will let you know. But that's what I'm thinking, because it's to do something every week is, I think, a little overmuch. And our lives are getting full. When I started this, we were in the depths of lockdown and craving connection. And the Sunday night stories were just a way for us to just pretend we were all in the same room and getting chills together. So now that things are beginning to open up, and I say beginning, people are more busy and I've got other things going on. So I'm going to pare it down just a little bit. Plus, I'm going to run out of stories one of these days. Of course, things keep happening. And that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. Hello, everybody. Hi, Joanne and Zach and Carly and Pam. Nice to see you all. I'm going to swipe this so I don't get distracted by trying to read when I can't see that small. So today I'm going to tell you about something that has happened more recently. I'm going to scooch back in my chair a little and get a little bit more comfy. There we go. Is that okay? That's better. Feels a little better on my tuchus. So I had an interesting encounter. That didn't work. In September, I was invited, Bounce and I were invited to a weekend with friends that we had not been together. We had not spent time together for 2 years. I mean, really, two years. And music friends and comrades. And so there was a gathering at a camp, at our friend's camp on Portage Lake in Onekama. And the camp it's really cool. I was there once before for just an evening, but this was going to be a weekend. And I was really excited about going there because, well, a couple of things. I remembered when I was there several years back for that evening, that brief evening, and really sensing the presence of something there that was like, I felt like it was kind of trying to get my attention, or if it wasn't trying to get my attention, it would just so permeated the space that it was hard for me to miss it. And so I was thinking, oh boy, a whole weekend, this will be fun. Plus, my friends whose camp it is asked if on Saturday night I would tell spooky stories around the campfire, and you know me, I just really hate doing that. So I was nervous, and no, I was really looking forward to being in person with people, able to tell some stories and interact and maybe hear some of their stories, and it was wonderful. So the first night we got there in the afternoon on Friday and put stuff away and got our room assignments. And the place it's a camp from the late 1800s. It was a boys' camp, and it's on a lot of acres on Portage Lake. Beautiful place. And the main building, the clubhouse, I think is what it's called, has a whole bunch of bedrooms upstairs. It has a giant kitchen that the whole group could gather in that kitchen, and did from time to time. And a big dining room with a long dining room table where the campers would sit for their meals. And it still had the tables and the chairs from the campers from, ever ago. And then it had a real cozy like living room with a big fireplace, and on either side of that were two other rooms that were like sunrooms with windows all around, one on one side and one on the other side. And one was on the lake side and the other was on the other side. And that was downstairs. And also downstairs there was an apartment that had been built on there for the folks who were, like, when it was a bed and breakfast, that was where the people who had the bed and breakfast, that was their living space. And so that was downstairs. And then upstairs there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know how many rooms, a whole bunch of rooms, and long hallway, and the hall kind of turned, and then there was more rooms over here, and then in the middle of that wide hall area upstairs, those old places had these big wide hall, or I don't know, it was a hall because there were doors on each side, but it was a very wide space. But at one end there were these very steep steps up to a closed door with a cord over it saying "Do not enter," and up there was an attic. And up there, when I remember when I first went there and got the tour and went up those stairs and just looked up those other stairs and thought, well, hi, howdy. You could just feel, I think attics, the energy of the house maybe goes up or into basements. I'm not sure just how it works, but maybe there are places that people aren't putting their own energy and moving around in those spaces very much. And so whenever there is spirit energy in a place, it seems to concentrate in basements and in attics, places that are not regularly used spaces. Although there are lots of stories of people in basements where they have their rec room there and a bedroom down there, and there's still all kinds of crap going on there. Or living space in an attic where all kinds of things are happening. So I don't know. This may be something I will explore and think on and try to figure out what might cause the lowest space and the highest space to be energy concentrators. I'm not sure. But anyway, I remembered all that. So when we got there on Friday, we were given our room assignments, and we had this really great room with a bathroom with a clawfoot tub and just really comfortable. The rooms all had names. When it was bed and breakfast, they restored the rooms and made them very hospitable, but kept the feel of when it was a camp. The house is full of things on the walls that commemorate the camp years from very, very early on, pictures of campers from, the 30s, 40s, things like blessings, Native American blessings of the place, and all on the walls everywhere, honoring the history of this camp. So there was a lot of memory just in the walls and in the space. And by renovating those rooms, and the names of the rooms fit with the notion of it being a camp, also, I think, served to keep some of the entities that are there. So that first night we hung out, and then when we listened to some stories, I heard about from one of the young women there whose family owns the place, that they had friends visiting, and one was a woman who was like this intrepid camper and had camped all by herself, all out west, and just this independent, fearless woman. And they had a bunkhouse like down the road a ways. There's in the camp there's several houses. There's a clubhouse, there's a couple more houses that people could stay in, and then way up the hill there is a bunkhouse, there's a fire pit, a bunkhouse, and another part of the bunkhouse has like bunks on both sides. I guess it has 2 rooms in the bunkhouse, and then that was up in that way was where the campers had platform tents where they camped. but they had built a bunkhouse up there right at the base of the dune. So when you face the bunkhouse, the dune just rose up. And it was an old dune. It's not sand. It's like wooded and covered with foliage. It's really amazing terrain. So this woman was staying on the the lakeside of the bunkhouse all by herself. And she said that in the middle of the night, she felt that something came rushing down at her, and this powerful energy just came and boom, overtook her. And it apparently it freaked her out considerably, and I don't believe she stayed there after that. But when we were talking about this, I said, well, boy, tomorrow in the daylight, I'd love to go up there and just see, maybe I can figure out what it is. Maybe there's a person up there, maybe there's something up there, maybe, who knows, but maybe tomorrow we can go up and check it out. So I was anticipating this and listening to other things around the place, and that was really the only spooky story that I was told that first night. And so the next day, there was a lot going on. We ended up having to drive back to Cadillac because we forgot. And still things are happening. Anyway, we had to go back into Cadillac. So when we got back, we got dinner going, and then after that evening, there was going to be a concert over in this old corral area where the folks had built a stage and set up microphones and stuff, and all the neighbors were bringing lawn chairs, and it was going to be like an open mic kind of setting, and everybody could take turns playing music and singing songs as if it was a performance, because we were all craving that as well. And before, when everybody else was heading over, this young woman, I said, why don't we go up and check out the bunkhouse? And she said, now? And I said, yeah, let's go now. Everybody, people have cleared out. It's best to go when there aren't a lot of people there. So we drove up, because it was a little bit of a distance, and I kind of glump. And when we came up into this open space, this clearing space, I could see the bunkhouses. I could see where the campfire was with the stuff, with the benches all around. And I could just feel it very, very energetic. But I did not sense a person there. So then we drove through the meadow, through the clearing, and parked over by the bunkhouse. And I got out, and I just I walked up and I looked inside, wondering if there was somebody haunting the place that was trying to figure out who she was, because a lot of times when you feel somebody rushing at you, it could be somebody trying to figure out who you are. But I did not sense anyone there at all. When I put my feet on the ground, however, I could feel, I sensed a really strong energy, and that's not unusual. I mean, Porter's Lake is connected to Lake Michigan, and so you've got Lake Michigan, you've got these sand dunes filled with quartz. It's just an energy vortex all along the lakeshore there, in the dunes and that whole area. So that didn't surprise me. And then after walking up the stairs to the bunkhouse, I went around the other side, and I got this sense of a bear. And I said that out loud. I said, I sense a bear. And she told me, there have been a lot of bear through here. We've had a bear come through camp. And I said, this is not a black bear. This is not a living bear. I am sensing a powerful bear spirit, a Mukwa, a mother Mukwa spirit, or grandmother even, giant, energetic bear. And I said, I can feel her coming up over the hill and bloom, 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 lumbering down the hill, and expecting to be able to just keep going. But here, sleeping in this bunk, is this woman with powerful autonomy and fearless energy. And I'm thinking this kind of bumped in and was like, whoa, who's that? And that's what she felt, the thump. But I don't think, I said, I don't think this thing is dangerous. This thing is a protector of this whole area. This is something that you don't want to spoil this area, because this grandmother or mother Mukwa is not going to like it, and you'll know, you know. So that was the one thing. Now, what I've found is when there are places that have powerful earth spirits or never human entities or deities even, you know, I'm sure at one time they're like godlike things, you know, they're not human and they're powerful, protective yet fierce entities. So when you have things like that, so oftentimes what I found is that they go hand in hand with human spirits staying on the land as well, for both bad and good reasons, depending. This was the case in the lodge in Wisconsin, that there was a powerful earth spirit, and when bad things were being done in the lodge, they were just stuck there. They were just stuck there. So I did not get a sense that anything was stuck at this place, however. I just felt like that there were other things there that maybe decided to stay or to come in and out or whatever. But this bear energy was part of the environment, was part of the atmosphere, was part of the the spirit community of this area. So so then that night, that Saturday night, was when the music all happened. We made it down to the music, and it was so great hearing everybody, and they made Bunce and me come up and sing something, and so we did. We let them play, and we just sang a couple of songs, and then after that, everybody there was a potluck or food out, and then it got dark, and people gathered around the fire and circled up around the fire. And then I started telling stories, and just different ones, and then other people shared their stories that you've probably already heard. I don't think I told them anything that you haven't already heard if you've been listening to me for a while. So then after this, we made our way in the pitch darkness. It was cloudy. It was like threatening rain. Cool. It was one of those first cool nights, so the fire was kind of nice. And we went back to the clubhouse. Some people sat out on the porch, and some people in the kitchen, everybody talking, and the young woman and I, who she's the one who told me the story about her friend and who took me up to the bunkhouses. We went into the living area and sat down by the fireplace, and there's like 3 sofas around and a coffee table, and she told me that maybe it was before we went there. We were in the other room, and she told me this story of one time when they were there with just family. She and her, I'm not sure, her sister-in-law or somebody, were in that area playing games late in the night, and everybody else had gone to bed, and they were, playing a board game or something, and all of a sudden, facing the fireplace from the room on the right, from their left side, they felt this sudden, like, rushing toward them and pushing them out, saying, "Get out." And just this, and they both felt it. They were both startled. They left the game where it was like, "Okay, we're done, that's it. And they got out. But it was a very powerful get out experience. And it made her very nervous because, when something tells you to get out, it's a good idea to do that, generally. So they did, and they went to bed, and she's been stressed there ever since. And she does not like that room. She just feels very uncomfortable in that room. And so I said, well, you want to go there, and I'll see if I can figure out who's there or what's there. And she said, really? Like now? And I said, yeah, let's go. So we went and we sat. And she told me again about what had happened. And as we sat there, I could feel, what I do is I like soft focus. So I'm in the present, in the physical, but I also focus just beyond that physical. So instead of, it's like, you could probably do this right now. If there's an object in your room that you can see, if you look at it and then look off to the side of it, so you can, to a blank place, so that you could still see everything in your field of vision, but it's all slightly peripheral, and you're focusing just on an empty space, okay? That's what I will do to see if a spirit will appear, will make itself seen to me. And sometimes I'll see them, and sometimes they just give me impressions and just let me know, like, I get these ideas of what their story is, who they are, or what they're doing there, or something. God. And so that's what I did. I looked off into the room to the left that had some children's toys and a child's desk and stuff in it. It was like a kids' play area for the grandkids and stuff, for the folks there. It wasn't like set up for a spooky ghost child's play place. No, it was the real children's play area. And so as she was talking, I was looking, and I just looked there, and in the back of the dark, the room was not lit, and we just had a couple of lamps on, so it was dimly lit. And I started to see in the darkness this form start to manifest, and and I have to, I'm always very tempted to then look right at it, but as soon as I do, it will fade. So it's like, you don't want to, it's like, don't make eye contact with someone with autism. It stresses them out. So if I look directly at something that's trying to manifest, I think it stresses them out, and they'll either they'll disappear. So I'm looking just away, and I make it out, and then I look away and give it time, and then I looked back, and it was a little bit darker, and I looked at something else, and then let it be right just in the corner, not the corner of my eye, but like right here in my vision as I'm looking there. So if I'm looking at you, it's right where my finger is, okay? And I'm watching it take form. And I see this old man with baggy pants. That's what I first saw, was the baggy pants. And he was just kind of expressionless, just standing there kind of watching. And so I tried to read him a little bit and figure out, what he is. And so I said to this young woman who was with me, I'm not saying her name because I don't know if she'd want me to do that. I said to him, I said to her, there's a man over there, and he is really bossy. He is like in charge. He is like the boss. And it's like his way or the highway. And he's like, and I said, he's like a general. And he has his way. And at night, when it gets late and people are still in his space, he doesn't like it, because he likes to move freely through this space when no one is around. And so, being the general, being bossy, I'm used to the general. We called my mother the general. He probably just wanted you to go so that he could have the space to himself. But he was not mean. He was not in any way dangerous. He was just very strong-willed, strong-minded, and there are just some things that need to be done certain ways. And staying up too late is not one of them, especially if you're drinking too much. So I'm telling her all this, and her eyes are getting bigger and bigger. And then we both just start getting these chills. And she goes, oh my gosh, what's that? And I told her, well, that's because he's letting us know he's there. And then I got a sense of someone else who was younger and who was like, I never saw him, but I could sense him, and he was like in the room just behind the fireplace. And he was like in charge of taking care of things. He was like maybe the next in charge, or he had lots of important duties and lots of important things, and it was like his job to with the boys. It was like his job to tend to the boys and to make sure that the story was told, to make sure that the value was imparted to these boys, and the value of respecting and caring for the earth. And just like all boys camps, it's cringeworthy these days with the whole appropriation of indigenous cultures, but boys camps always had that component of the Native American, saying special words and the whole pass it the pipe kind of stuff, the ritual. And this camp was not, this camp had all that stuff. So I had a feeling, I don't think this gentleman was indigenous, was Native American, but he was like the keeper of the lore. And all the stories and all the lore were told, and this is so, I know this is just, it really, but remember at the time, okay, it was wrong then, and it's more wrong now because we know better. But, for these young boys to become braves, they had to demonstrate this strength and this righteousness and this ability to take care of the place and take care of things. So, and I had a feeling that was that guy's job. So I'm telling her all this, and we're sitting there, and it's getting later, and we're sipping wine. It's funny how that is so often a part of. And when I looked, because I was focusing away from that side room and thinking about this guy behind the fireplace, and he wasn't like hiding, that was just his place back there. And then when I looked back to the side room where I had seen the general guy, he was right in the doorway, and he was just looking at me like this. While unblinking. And I got a very strong sense that he was trying to tell me to go away. And so I just said, we'll be leaving pretty soon, but we got just a little bit more. And he leaned further in. And I wasn't scared away, but I said, I think it's time for us to go. I don't want to stay in his space anymore. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking of and revealing all his secret places and things in this conversation and in my head. And he had been there for many, many, many years. And it was his place. And he didn't want me screwing around with it, And I understand that. It's like, it's like you have guests and you've got things you have to do. And so you do those little things to try to, give them hints as to it's time for them to go. Well, his hint was. So I said, let's go in the kitchen. And we went in the kitchen, and then she went to bed. And by this time, I think I may have frightened some people at the fire, because some folks came in to the living room and heard what we were talking about and quick turned around and went the other way. Mary Sue, who was there, said, "Is it haunted upstairs?" And the Friday night, I heard nothing and felt nothing upstairs when we were sleeping Friday night. So I honestly said, Upstairs felt great. I didn't feel anything down there, but up there. But here, there's all kinds of, there's a couple of guys hanging out around here. So everybody else went to bed, and I was the only one downstairs, which I really like when there's spirit there, because I don't have to talk at all, and I can just be in that space with them and feel that movement. And so I just went around and turned off all the lights. I think I left a little light on in the kitchen. Left a light on so I wouldn't die on the stairs going up. And as I came around to go, after turning the kitchen lights off and the whole front of the clubhouse was darkened, I just stopped for a minute towards that front room and just kind of leaned in and said, thank you. Good night. Thanks for letting us be here. And then went upstairs. And then turned off the light in the hall and went in my room where Buns was already sawing a log and got ready for bed, brushed my teeth, blah, blah, blah. And there was, where our bed was, there was a door on the side of the bed where I was lying. There was a door right there that was locked. It was, but it was like right out, the hall was on the other side. And so I thought it may be another door into that room, because the room that we were in was actually two rooms. It was like if you had a family, because it had like a large twin bed in one side, and then the side where we were had the larger bed for two people, and the bathroom was on the other side. But so I'm lying there and I'm thinking that that's the hallway, because right outside that door I start hearing footsteps. And at first I heard what sounded like only like 3 steps on the stairs. And the stairs were across the hall and a little further away, so that could have been anything. But I knew nobody else was up. Everybody else was asleep. I was the last one up. And most everybody had bathrooms in their own rooms. There were a couple of rooms on the ends that did not have their own bathroom, but those bathrooms were also on the ends. So there would really be no reason for somebody to be walking past my room in the middle of that hall area. And yet I heard that, and I first heard it like coming up the stairs and then walking from the stairs down toward the other end of the hall. And so I just waited to see if I heard a door and listened very acutely, and I never heard a door open, like in case somebody had gone for water or something. And didn't hear anything. And so I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's just nothing, And so I closed my eyes and I kind of tucked in, and then all of a sudden my eyes popped open, because I heard just outside that door, it started right outside, like right at the head of me on the other side of the wall. Not that fast, it was much slower. It was like, and it squeaked a little, and then another step, and it squeaked, and then it squeaked. And I waited to see if I heard a door, and of course I did not. So I said, okay, it's all right. I'm going to sleep. Leave me alone, I need to sleep. And so I closed my eyes, and I started to drift off, and I heard like something on the other side of that door. And my eyes popped open again. And now I had been for hours, talking about and interacting with spirit. And so for me to think that I could then just go climb in bed and nothing would come knock at my door was kind of foolish. And this was not just me freaking myself out, because I wasn't freaked out. I wasn't afraid at all. I know that sounds really weird, but I've told you this before. Ghosts do not frighten me. I've learned to speak that language and understand that culture enough to not be afraid in it. I'm still cautious, but I'm not, it doesn't scare me. So I wasn't scared. I was just trying to sleep, and it kept waking me up. And though I could have just kept my eyes closed with these creaks in the hallway, at first I felt like there was this kind of wake up. You know, it was like, wake up. And I think well, I'll tell you what I think it was later, but eventually I just said, I'm going to sleep now, and you could do whatever you want out there, but don't wake me up anymore. I'm going to sleep. I need to get some sleep. It was really late by this time. And the steps continued down the hall, and I just closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and stopped paying attention to the steps. Instead, I paid attention to the sound of Bunce's breathing and to my breathing, and I fell asleep. And I slept all night just fine. Yeah. And the next day, went downstairs, and I had, you know, because Mary Sue had asked, is this place haunted up here? And I said, no, it's fine up here. And I didn't want to tell her. But she didn't experience anything, so I didn't. I mean, why do that? I'm sure I'm the only one who heard that, and I have a feeling I know why. Because I kind of invaded the spirit space, and I wasn't doing it for them. I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for the people who were there, but also for myself. I was curious. It was interesting. I just wanted to find out about them, and I invaded their space, and with no reason to, with no reason to. And so I'm wondering if then what's good for the goose is good for the gander kind of came into play when I tried to go to sleep in my personal space up there. And it was like, so you're going to come walk up in my space, and you're going to come and tell my story. Well, I'm going to walk in your space. That's what I kind of think it was. Or it was somebody else, because there was also a female energy there that I didn't spend any time figuring that one out. But there was a woman there, very nurturing woman. I don't think she was a cook, but she cared for the kids in some way. And it wasn't like somebody's spouse. It was someone whose job was to work there. Maybe a nurse there. She may have been the one upstairs, because one of the rooms up there was the infirmary. So it could have just been her checking on things, making sure everybody was set. But I really felt like I was being bothered because I had been bothersome. And that's the kind of personality that I think this older gentleman had. You know, it was like, okay, you all know what you're doing. Well, everybody else is asleep, and I'm going to just kind of walk around up here and see if I can't just freak you out a little bit. Well, it didn't freak me out, but it was annoying for a while. So so then the next morning we did a wonderful, we all sat around, and it was all the people who all who usually do the Wheatland Gospel Sing. And so on Sunday morning, we haven't done that for 2 years. We sat around in that great room, sat with my back to the side room where the general, or whoever he was, the general, had his space. And we spent about an hour playing those wonderful old gospel tunes. And it was like, it made us all weep, you know. I mean, the music and the message, and Mary Sue had just lost her dad, and there was just, and we were all feeling the grief of being apart for so long, and the grief of the lost music, and friendship and closeness. And you know, you could play music by yourself till the cows come home, but until you are sitting in a circle and singing with a bunch of other people, there's nothing like that. And it creates this energy that filled that house. and that has in the past. That space was used for music many, many times. And that is one of the reasons I think that it feels so good there. Even though there are mindful ghosts in that place who are there because of their love of the place. They're not there because they were traumatized there. They were there because it gave them purpose. And then the energy of the music and the gathering of people, as long as it's not too late into the night, continues to fill those vibrations and to create a harmonic with the spirit in that place. The energy and vibration of sound and harmony and voices and strings and a washboard along with the vibration of 150 years, 118, yeah, 150 years of good feeling and love in a place like that, and growth and best times. You know, those boys would come up there for like 6 weeks every summer and become a family, join and connect, and here we were connecting, and all those connections together with the vibration of spirit and the vibration of us and the sounds that we created just fed the walls and the energy in that place. And I would never be afraid to be in there. It just feels too good. It just feels too good. So as people are packing up, we went in the sunroom on the other side, and there was a book on the side table there. And it was a book that was put together by a gentleman who had been a camper, I think in the late 50s, early 60s maybe. And he and his brothers had all attended that camp. And so when it sold, or when it was, it was almost lost. I mean, when our friends bought it, it was in terrible disrepair, and they saved it. They saved it and restored it and made it better than ever, So it'll last another 150 years, we hope. But here's this book with pictures of them as campers, and I turned the page, and here is this old gentleman. And guess who it was? Yeah, you're right. It was that man in that side room that gave me that look. And do you know what the campers called him? The General. Called him the General. And then there was another picture with all the campers sitting around, and there was this other young gentleman there with a t-shirt, and he was holding like a feather and some other things, and he just had this really kind face. And even though I never saw that man, I knew that's who was on the other side. The minute I saw it, I'm like, oh, there you are. I could have just looked at that book and told him who these people were. But it was nice to get that validation afterwards, and to show the young woman, say, look, here they are. This is who I was talking about last night. So, so that is my experience there. I've been thinking about it a lot. Not a lot, but it comes to mind from time to time. And it's something that whenever I have an experience like that, where it is a full-on experience with spirit, with people who have died, and with an earth spirit, with the Mukwa, this was a powerful weekend for me. And so I I see those things as being important passages, as being important steps, as things, my guides or my teachers on, that guide me through my life. I think get me in those situations where I get to get a deeper, further experience in that reality. And I think that's for a reason. And so I spend time contemplating and thinking about what, why, not why was I sent there, but what can I take from this? How can this experience help me on my journey as a gatekeeper, on my journey as someone who helps both spirits and people who are troubled with spirits and spirits who are troubled? How can this experience help me in the future? And so I spend time thinking about that. And I'm still thinking about it. I have some ideas. I know that honoring boundaries for the living is very important. And I think honoring boundaries for the dead is also. And we're all learning that as we go, right? Living close to one another. Oh boy, living close to one another. What a gift. What a gift that was. And what a gift you are. Thank you. Thanks for coming and listening. I've enjoyed this evening. It's not really a spooky story, I suppose. I've heard people say that my stories are all pretty spooky, but there's always something good that comes of them, don't you think, generally? Maybe not. But I also would like to let everybody know, I don't know if this is the place for it, but if you're in Northwest Michigan on October 30th, that is Halloween Eve, I'm going to be doing live spooky stories at Horizon Books in Cadillac from 10 p.m. to midnight. You can contact them. I think there's a cover charge. It's like a $5 cover charge, but it includes libation. We're going to have some wine and some, I don't know, some cider and something some mange or some kind. So you can wear a costume if you like. If you want to dress up spooky, dress up like a ghost or a witch or something, or whatever. Or you don't have to get dressed up. I'm always dressed up. I'm going as Spooky Miss T.I. But it would be so fun to tell stories live. I know at that campfire it was just delightful. It's been a long time since I've done these stories in person. And if you're nearby or not nearby, there's lodging in Cadillac, and it's beautiful up here this time of year. Well, maybe by the 30th we'll have snow, you never know. But it would be lovely to see your face. Meanwhile, be well, be good to yourself, be good to each other, even those ones that are hard to be good to. Keep wearing your mask in public. Stay safe. We're almost through this. We'll get there. It's always hardest just before it's over, right? It's always most difficult just before the end, but we can do this, and we can do this together. Take care. Have a good night. Good night.